Our first Champions League campaign in 5 years got underway at Celtic Park last week as we took on reigning European champs Real Madrid on match day 1 of this season's competition. So I do want to cover certain elements of the game, but also I'd like to look more generally at what Celtic may do in Europe this season when implementing Ange's fairly unique system at this level. So we've obviously seen some of that, particularly in the first half on Tuesday night.
Is this a TCE analytics?
It is.
Oh, love it, lads.
It is.
XG.
If you like. So, Mif, I'll come to you first, seeing as you're gunning. They say you either win or you learn at this level of football. So what will Ange and the players have learned from that one against Real Madrid?
Well, they'll have learned that they can play their brand of football against an extremely good team, if not the best team in European football. So from a confidence point of view, I think you take what the players have spoken about, that kind of Betis moment, and the fans have spoken about recently, that Leverkusen moment, defeats from which you've really seen progress in terms of the style of play and the bravery of the players in that. I think Real Madrid is a further marker of that, another watershed moment in the evolution of the team, to turn around and say, we put our stamp in that game. Listen, glorious failure, Scottish mentality, you can throw it at them if you want, lads and lassies, don't care. Sat there, watched the game, had to actually turn around and say to the guy next to me, this is Real Madrid we're playing here. At times dominating the ball. I know we didn't always dominate the ball, but at times we did dominate the ball. Movement causing them problems. What's so bad I done with that one? Man, what you done? Oh, you did the mortgage. But anyway, hey, it's all positive, lads. It's all positive. I was right behind the goals for McGregor's shot.
Yeah.
How that has hit the inside of the post with that ferocity and managed to get for a throw in.
I know. Next to the corner flag.
That defies physics. Yeah. How's that possible?
Courtois was absolutely rooted, wasn't he?
I was away. Lads. Away.
It was just some bit of play, like the hold up for the big man as well.
That's what made it for me. The big man just came out bristling. I just love him.
Well, there's a reason. Are
you allowed? What's the parental advisory on here?
Advise your parents not to let your kids listen to Mif.
I swear. Well, that's fine, because they'll already have done that, because we're 79 shows deep. He's just a big shithouse. I absolutely love it, man. I just love it. And it doesn't matter who he's playing against. He's just out to noise them up. He's out to get in their face. He's all elbows, forearms, big beautiful Greek biceps, whatever it might be. They're just getting it thrown in folks' faces. He's just getting in their way. He's annoying them. He's irritating them. And that went for Real Madrid as well. You saw it.
They took Militao off at half time.
You saw it. Just I can honestly say, I thought half time, it's almost a bit too good to be true, in the sense that I can't believe I've watched this play like this. And then there's the obvious sting in the tail. But I go back to what I'd said just slightly before we came on air. To have the Abada chance, I'll call the McGregor chance a chance because he's hit the target, or will hit the post in the target. No. I'll say it as. He's hit the target. And then the Maeda chance to start the second half. If you to have said you will create those 3 chances against Real Madrid and not take any of them,
I know.
It's just unbelievable. But the immense pride in how our manager has set the team up, not wavered, and the players have performed with immense credit.
Yeah. He's excited tonight,
Just a bit. What I would say,
I've had a wee calf. I repeat, I've had a wee calf. I'm fired up.
I was just going to say,
what do you call it?
The guy I feel sorry for the most is the guy that he keeps mentioning next to me. I said to the guy next to me, and I said, his ears must be bleeding at the end of the game.
I'll give him a mention, because there's no danger he listens to me after needing to sit next to me again. It's Alan for Paisley, I think he's.
Well done, Alan.
A patient man.
I think he's for Paisley.
Paddy, I'll come to you. I'll give you a chance, seeing as Mif's no stop for air the last couple of minutes.
Fine, I'll get a wee breather there.
I was just going to ask straight up, do you think we showed across at least the first 50 minutes or so that we can genuinely compete at this top level of European football?
100%. I was so proud of him. I really was. We look at the chances missed, but other teams are going to miss chances against a team like Madrid there. What was so positive for me was how comfortable we were on the ball. Hatate, that pass. Again, it just makes it look so easy. And I tell you what, that's practiced. They practiced that in the training ground, 100%. They knew what they were doing.
The throw in from Juranovic, first time volley from Hatate.
Incredible. And what I loved about it the most is for the first 40, 50 minutes, yes, we were all over them to an extent. I'd say after the first 25 minutes, they come into it. But what's very clever, and it's kind of something I brought up about in the Rangers game, what's very clever with Ange's team is that as a taking away the front three, the rest all know when to just bed in and basically just take it a breather almost and just soak up the pressure as much as they can. The second half, they tried to do that again after conceding the first goal, and then you started to notice, no, hang on, we can't. They're quicker than us, and they're so much more. They're a different level. They're a different level. Just the way they were spraying the ball about and how quick they do it. Kroos and Modric weren't looking up at points. It was just something about passing.
Yeah.
But what we done and what we could have done is go in 1-2-0 up easily, or get the goal at the beginning of the second half. And it filled me with confidence going into the game on Wednesday night, even though a great result for Shakhtar last week. I'm not fazed by it.
No. You can't deny, Mif, that the game changes. When it goes 1-0, the whole thing changes because your system is set up in such a way that you need to then come out at some point. Celtic, I think Celtic under Ange, regardless, actually will always come out. But when it goes 1-0 and you're chasing the game, you start to take risks that you wouldn't take otherwise. And that's what leads to 2 and 3-0. And there's debate about whether you should be, some people are saying, never accept defeat and what's become of us. Take a step back and look at the fact that this is the current European champions, 14 times European champions Real Madrid, hosting, I think I'd mentioned this last week, or at least in the pre-match we done, 3 or 4 of their guys are in the running for the Ballon d'Or. Yeah. Between Benzema, Vinicius Jnr, Courtois and Rudiger, who came in from Chelsea. They're a team just loaded with quality, and as you say, this is just another benchmark, Mif, but at a different level. Our last game in Europe was against Bodo Glimt, which we also lost, but this is a different type altogether. Well,
use that as your assessment. Look at the performances against Bodo and the performance against Real Madrid in both games where we didn't win. Mm-hmm. There's clear progress there. So I think you look at even the wee daft things and excuse me, you look at the wee daft things like the goal, was it Hazard's goal, where Valverde's drifted across, and you can actually see when you look at for the offside, you can see there's actually just 4 Celtic defenders in a row, no marking them, and it's probably been something new for them, because in SPL you'll have your big target man standing right in between the 2 centre halves. It's just ready there to go and attack the ball that's put into the penalty spot or whatever. And just the cuteness of the way that Real Madrid just worked that situation where they're happy to drift off, and all the defenders technically are doing the right thing because they're holding their shape. When all that goal was avoidable if somebody just tracked a runner, and it goes back to basics. But there's so much interplay went on before that. Aye. Where you're happy just to hold your ground. They've almost hoodwinked you into thinking that that's a safe situation when actually it's not. That's exactly the situation the goals came from, and that's just the level up that you're playing against. But I think in general, the way that Celtic approach the game is the most important thing. As I say, we've been in that situation before. I can remember the game. It was a game because we'd beat Anderlecht 3-0 or 3-1 over there.
They beat us.
They beat us 1-0, but because it was 1-0, it was fine, and everybody just sat like, "Oh, that's great. It's just like an aggregate victory," and I was like, it was absolutely rotten. Right. And I went on the bus. I get dog's abuse because I was like, "Who's why Pine watched that? That's absolute mince." Mm-hmm. And it was like, it'll just be like an aggregate victory, 3-1 an aggregate, we're through to the next round, whatever. For me, that's accepting defeat. Mm-hmm. What we did the other night against Real Madrid, where we stuck to it. Yeah. We went out and played our way. We were brave. We created chances. We were effective on the ball. We maximised our abilities, I would say. That's what I would be happier at, rather than a really, really passive defeat. I don't think it was a passive defeat.
No, absolutely not. You mentioned that third goal, and at that point, so at 2-0 down, Celtic have made a couple of changes. Kyogo's come in, and we're trying to rally and see if we can get something out of this game. They've passed us to death for that goal. I think they've had 38 passes before that. So you're right, it's easy, analytically, here at TCE Analysis, to look at the goal just as it happens in the final seconds of it, looking across the line, why is nobody picking him up? It's because you've been running around like a dog for the last 3 minutes trying to get the ball at all. I think is it Kroos that plays it over the top to Carvajal, who lays it into the pass. It's a brilliant goal for their point of view. And actually, they're all very good goals when you look at them in isolation.
Yeah,
they're very good players.
Exactly. It's kind of the third goal is very similar to what we do in the league. Just in behind, ball across the 6-yard line. They're going to pick you off. They're an incredible team, but we had them rattled for 45 minutes, and that's what we need to take from it. And the attitude, even going 1-0 down, even going 2-0 down, didn't change. And you can just see that there's just that belief about themselves that, hang on, we're going to get the ball down in the deck, we're going to try and play football against them. On you go, sorry, man.
Right, but I was just going to say, you can hear there's genuine pride and belief from you lads, and I'm in the same boat, I think, rightfully so. The big question is, what confidence will the players take in Mif? You're right, it might be another one of those watershed moments like against Betis last year. I think a lot of the players speak about that Aberdeen game in October where Jota got a late winner from Montgomery's cutback, I think. These being kind of turning points and pivotal moments in the journey of Ange and this Celtic team. I was just going to ask, where do you think the players are at, having gone toe-to-toe, at least for a half, with the European champions?
Like I say, that was the point I initially made, is that's how I feel it will be interpreted in the dressing room, is that they've went there and said, look, if we can do it against them, we can do it against them. Again, different styles will clash, different teams will play in different ways against us. In many ways, Real Madrid were open enough to say, we're going to beat you at football. You can come and give your best, but we think we're going to beat you. Now, maybe for a wee half an hour, we had them thinking, no, maybe we'll not beat them, but the class told eventually, and I do think a lot it was just Celtic just kind of blew a gasket in the second half, and the first goal is just that's what bursts the bubble, bursts the balloon. I can only really take positives from it. I know other people feel differently, and I know there's people with that winning mentality that just refuse to accept any sort of defeat, but you have to recognise this as a stepping stone in the next stage of the evolution of the team under Ange, that he had to have that marker. He needed that evidence to say, right, this is the stress test of my style of football and my team against the best. And he's now got that. And I think just as something to work on, that'll be invaluable for Ange.
Yeah, I think he'll look back at this game. We've obviously still got 5 games to go in the group and whatever else this season throws up at us, but I think we may well look back at this as a turning point and a pivotal moment. All really positive stuff, and I agree with you, as I say, but do you think, Paddy, that a couple of players maybe got spooked on the occasion? Mif, you've mentioned Abada, who could and should have done better on a couple of occasions, and obviously Daizen Maeda's fluffed these lines around about the 50th minute or so. Do you think the occasion got to them, Paddy?
Possibly, but if, the guys are scoring them week in, week out in the league, that's fine, all right? I put it to the point that if they're going to go and score these big goals, they're probably not going to be at Celtic, if you know what I mean. I think it's one of those ones where this is them going to find out if they're going to be at the level required. Abada, he's got time in his hands, plenty of time. Maeda, we've spoke about it, he's not a finisher. He's not I don't think he's a natural goal scorer. He should score that 100%. I'm not defending him in any way, but it's what you do after. And I just think that the occasion there, that they've had it now, they've experienced it, and probably the biggest game of the group, obviously. They've experienced that now at Celtic Park. They'll know, hang on a minute, we were knocking at the door there actually. We could do this against the other 2 teams here, and we could go and give Madrid a game in the Bernabeu if we wanted, because that could be a dead rubber for them.
It's a good point, Mif. It's how you respond to these things. So as long as Daizen Maeda picks himself up and gets himself back in that position for the next one, likewise Abada, then that's got to be the way to look at that.
I think it's an absolute gilt-edged chance that Maeda's missed, and you can argue Abada still, whilst there was still a wee bit more work to do in his, you just expected a better effort from him. But that's like Paddy says, they've now experienced that cauldron, another level up for anything they've probably played in before, higher level of scrutiny, more of an emphasis on taking your chances rather than knowing that the next one's probably got to come along in the next 5 minutes. All those things are factors. Wouldn't necessarily say I don't think it gets spooked. Abada's coming off the high, the Rangers game, goes in there, misses a couple of early chances. He's a young player, head's going down. Maeda in many ways is a perfect replacement. He then comes on and is guilty of the same thing that Abada's done to earn getting hooked at half time. But overall, I think you just need to be happy with the way the players acquitted themselves. Hatati's the interesting one for me. I've made this point before and I'll make it again. He's only playing at 50%. There's so much more to come for that laddie. And see when he does, good grief, he can be running games if he wants to. He's got the ability to do the lot. He really has got the ability to do the lot. He's got an engine. He's got the skill. He's got the passing range. What a player. What a player.
We're talking about that pass, and it's the burst after it. You know, just the determination to get there if anything's going to come back into the centre.
I mean, I've mentioned there's guys who maybe get spooked by the occasion, Abada, Maida. The opposite is happening with guys like Hatate, maybe Greg Taylor, and others have went, oh, this is for me. I belong at this level and I'm going to show people just how good I can be. You mentioned experience, Mif. I think, if I'm correct, only Jota and Juranovic had started Champions League football before that game against Madrid. So that includes Callum McGregor and various guys who have played at a good level for Celtic. But now they've all, or the majority of this team have got a start against Real Madrid under their belt. And it can only get better for that experience. You know, that's as tough as it gets. Opening day, albeit you've got home advantage, but it's a tough test. And we acquitted ourselves very, very well in the bigger picture.
Best time to play them. As we're kind of talking about, Ange will take so much for that game and realise, right, what am I going to tweak against Leipzig? What am I going to tweak against Shakhtar? He'll learn so much of his players there. I think he knows an awful lot about them already, but just in the heat of the moment, you know, whether we can be a bit more clinical. This is where you practice. This is where you get it right. I actually wish we were able to play on Saturday, because you right some of the wrongs there before going into the big game in Wednesday night. No, it's just the best time to play them, and I think if we go and get the result on Wednesday against Shakhtar, then yeah, we're looking at second. We're knocking the door 100%. Just that if we go into every game the way we did on Tuesday, I definitely think we've got a good chance.
Yeah. Mif, why do people keep messing with my agenda? We'll get to Shakhtar.
Right, mate.
Shakhtar's just round the corner.
I just said their name.
But yeah, just to close things out for Madrid. So as usual, you get players coming away from Celtic Park after such a night. Toni Kroos, Luka Modric jumping on social media, raving about the fans and the environment and the atmosphere at Celtic Park. I think that's generally got to be a positive thing, but there's a school of thought that we shouldn't be making things so enjoyable for opposition players, and some weren't happy with that Modric was applauded as he left the park. What's your general take on that? Did you applaud?
I've seen no, but I've seen I actually applauded when Benzema went off, because the game got obviously cut early for him, and reigning Ballon d'Or winner, you know what I mean? My wee boys there probably don't got to have that instance happen very often, but I don't. It's not a big issue for me, really. If people want to applaud, I don't think I did applaud Rabiot when he played for PSG, but I probably wish I did now, because it's individually as good a performance as I've ever seen at Celtic Park. I think you just appreciate good play for what it is. You don't really have any pre-existing legacy of hatred against these teams. Yeah. Slightly different when you're playing against league rivals and things like that. So I think it can be looked at and taken in a different context. Although I do appreciate the point that you don't want it to be like a tourist venue as well. You need to create a wee bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of intimidation, for want of a better word. I think, generally speaking, people come here looking forward to the atmosphere rather than dreading it.
Yeah. What about you, Paddy? What was your take on Modric and, as Mif says, Benzema getting applauded?
Yeah, I kind of go with just your final points. It should be more intimidating. Each to their own. It's just not something I would do. There to support Celtic and Celtic. Full of malice.
He's a bad boy with that new haircut, man. That's his haircut short. He's not messing about anymore.
I celebrated when Benzema went down injured. I was like, yes! We're going to win! And then they brought Hazard on.
A bitter man, Paddy.
Absolutely.
But yeah, a big night at Celtic Park against Real Madrid, and it's one that I do think we could look back on, in the months and maybe even years ahead as a turning point for this Ange side. So exciting times ahead.